Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and compliments of the season. It's been like ages. Happy New Year everyone. Honestly, I've been very busy, but I promise to post more often. Anyways, today I'll be showing you how I made this two-piece trouser and Dolman top. So let's get started. I'll be using these 4 yards of fabric to make the top and trouser. This is the waistline where the measurement will start, and this other line I came in by 2 inches from where I'll be taking the horizontal measurement. The first measurement I'll be taking is the crotch depth. To get the crotch depth, you divide the hips by 4, or another method is to hold a measuring tape vertically from your waist to the seat of the chair, just like the picture on the screen. So for this, the measurement is 10 inches. So I'll just take a horizontal line. I'll place the same 10 inches on the waistline. Then I'll take a straight line to meet the crotch depth. So after doing that, I'll take the waist to hip. You can either measure your waist to hip or you come up by 2 inches from the crotch depth to get your hip line. So now from this point, I'll take the waist measurement. So for this, the waist is 31. 31 divided by 2 give us 7.5. I'm adding 1 inch for that and 1/4 inch for ease. So I'll connect it to the hip line like so. To get the crotch extension, you measure your tie round here, or you place what you have on the box here and divide it by 4. So I have 10 inches here, divided by 4 will give me 2.5. So I'm going to place the 2.5 here and I'll connect it like so. Now on the waist, I'll measure the waistline here. Then I'll divide it into 2 to get my dart. I'll place it here and I'll come down by 4 inches. So I'll take a straight line, then I'll take 1/2 inch on both sides. Then I'll connect it to this point for the dart. Now the next measurement I'll be taking is the waist to knee. And for this measurement, the waist to knee is 24 inches. So I'll connect it. Then I'll take the waist to the full length. That's waist to the ankle. And I have 43 inches here. Then I'll place 2 inches for seam allowance. I'll connect it. After doing that, I'm going to measure from the crotch extension down to the hip line here. So I have 12.25. So I'm going to divide it into 2 equal halves. I'll be left with 6.25. So I'll take the 6.25 all the way down to the knee and to the full length. So I'm going to take a straight line. This line is going to serve as our crease line. The crease line is going to guide us on how to measure our trouser so that it will be balanced. So on the knee length, I'll take the knee circumference, which is 17. 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. Now I'll divide the 8.5 into 2 equal halves and I'll share it on the crease line here. That is 4.25. So on the full length, I'll take the ankle round. The ankle round is 13. 13 divided by 2 will give us 6.5. So I'll share the 6.5 into 2 equal halves. That will be 3.25. So I'll place it from the crease line here and also here. So now after doing that, the next thing I'll take is to get the crouch curve like this from here to meet this point. So I'll just use like a broken line to connect it to this point. Then I'll use my pattern master to connect it like so. So you need to be very careful so that it will not be too sharp. On the crotch line, I'll connect it to meet the knee line here. Then on the crotch extension, I'll also connect it to meet this point. So from the knee line, I'll connect it to the ankle length here. I'll do the same thing on this other side. Now we are almost done with our front trouser. So what I'll do next is on this waistline, I'll come up by 1/2 inch like so. Then I'll connect it to the dart line. That's the first dart leg, like so. So this is a pencil trouser. So if you want to make like me, I want to make a straight trouser. So this pattern is just like a template. You can always alter it. So I want a straight trouser. So what I have on the knee length, the exact measurement here, I'll place it on the full length and take a straight line. But if you want a palazzo trouser, you measure what you have here. So I have 12.5 inches here. So I'll take it to the full length here. So I'll divide it into 2 equal halves and I'll place it here. Then I'll take a straight line from this point down to the full length. So on the knee length, I have 8.5 here from this point. So I'll divide it into 2 equal halves like I did on the knee, and I'll place it on the full length and I'll take a straight line. So I'll do that later after drafting the back. So let's go ahead and draft the back. So this is the front pattern. I used my tracing wheel to trace it to another pattern paper to draft exactly what I have on the front on another pattern paper. So I'll keep it aside. So on this front crotch line, remember this is a crotch curve. So on this crotch depth line, I'll come in by 1 inch. Then on the waistline here, this same crotch line, I'll come in by 2 inches like so. Then I'll take a straight line. Then I'll extend this point. I'll extend it by 1.5 inches here. So after doing that, I'll measure the waist, the front waist. I'll measure what I have here. So I have 9 inches. So I'll place it here, the 9 inches, and I'll slant it a little to meet the front waist here. So I'll take the 9 inches, then I'll use my ruler to connect it like so. So I've taken the back waist measurement. Now I'll be taking the hip measurement here on this hip line. So I'll place the 10 inches here, then I'll connect it like so. So then I'll shape it to the hip line. So for the back waist dart, I'll measure what I have here. I have about 9 inches. So when I divide it into two, I have 4.5. So I'll place it here on the midpoint. Then I'll come down by 3.5 or 4 inches. Then I'll take a slant line. Then I'll take ½ inch on both sides and connect it. So to get the back crotch extension, you come down by 1 inch from the front crotch, or you divide your hips by 10 and place it here. Then you take a straight line and connect it like so. So from this point, I'll come down by ½ inch here. Then I'll make like a curve from here to meet this hip line here. So I'll use my pattern ruler to connect it like so. So this is the back crotch. So make sure you don't make it too deep. Now I'll extend this hip measurement on the crotch depth. So I have 1 inch here. So I'll place it here, then I'll connect it. So the next thing I'll do on the knee length, I'll go out by ½ inch here. Then on the full length, I'll do the same thing. Here also, I'll add ½ inch and also on the full length. So I'll connect it to meet the new point to the full length, also on this side. So I've connected it all the way down. Now I'll go back to the front pattern. So on the front pattern, on this part of the waist, I'll come down by 1 inch. I forgot to do that. Then I'll connect it to the dart leg here. Remember, we came up by ½ inch here. So this is normally done to avoid smile lines on the front trouser. So for the pocket, on this point, I'll come in by 2 inches like so. Then I'll slant it and take 7 inches here. So I'll rule it to this point. So this is where the pocket will be. Now to get the fly, from this point, I'll come in by 1.5 inches all the way down like so. Then I'll take a straight line. So you understand later when I cut it out. So remember I told you I'm making a straight trouser. So I'm going to alter this part. What I have on the knee, I'll place it on the full length. So I have 4.25 from here to the crease line. So I'll place it on the full length here. From the crease line here, I'll place the 4.25 and I'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'll go ahead and take a straight line down like so. So after doing this, I'm going to add ½ inch all around the front pattern like this. This ½ inch is for joining, for our seam allowance. So I'm taking it all the way, even on the waist. I've added ½ inch all round the pattern. So I'll go to the back. So I'll do the same thing. I'm going to add ½ inch all the way down, like all round, like so. So I forgot to mention, I've also altered the knee length of the back. That is from on the knee length, I took it to the full length. Now we have our front and back trouser block. So now I'll be drafting the top, or should I call it the blouse. So this is the pattern I'll be using. I've gone ahead to fold it into two. So I'm drafting the front and the back together. It's on a fold. So this is the shoulder line. This is the shoulder to the full length. So the shoulder to the full length is 30 inches. I added 2 inches for seam allowance. So the top is cut together with sleeve. The first measurement is the shoulder. So the shoulder we divided by 2 is 8 inches. So I'm adding the sleeve, which is also 8 inches. So that's 16 inches. Then from this point, I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then I'll take the neck width. The neck width I'm working with is 4 inches. And the back depth is 2 inches. Then I'll take the front depth also, which is 3.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and connect it. So this is the front and back neckline. Now on this shoulder slope I came down with, I'll connect it to the neck width here. Now the next measurement I'll take is the chest line. So I'll take it from this shoulder slope, and the chest line is 8 inches. Then I'll connect it. Every other measurement will start from this point. So I'll take the shoulder to waist, which is 17, and also shoulder to hip, which is 26 inches. So I'll go ahead and take a horizontal line. So now I'll be taking the bust circumference. The bust circumference is 38. 38 divided by 4 will give us 9.5. So I'll place the 9.5 here. I'm adding 1.5 inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. Now on the waist is 31. Quarter of 31 is 7.5. So I'm adding 1.5 inches for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. The hip circumference is 40. Quarter of 40 is 10 inches. I'm adding 1.5 inches for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. So what I have on the hip, I'll place it on the full length here. So I'll go ahead and connect the lines. So after doing this, I'm going to come down from this point here. That's where the sleeve will stop. I'll come down by 7.5 inches. So after doing that, I'll take a straight line to meet the 7.5 inches. So on the chest line where the bust circumference is, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. You can come down as low as 2 inches if you want. So I'm going to curve it like this to meet this 1 inch I came down with, like so. Make sure you curve it properly. So after doing this, the next thing is to cut it out. So the first thing I'll cut out is the back neckline. So I'm leaving half an inch on the shoulder for seam allowance. Then I'll cut out the sides. So I'm going to separate the front and the back. So I'll reshape the front neckline. So we are done. So this is the pattern. So I'm going to draft it on the fabric. So I've gone ahead to cut out the back trouser. So this is the back trouser. I used exactly what I have on the pattern to draft the back. So this is the front. I also did the same thing. I cut exactly what I have. So I'm trying to get the pocket shape I drafted earlier. So I used 2 inches. So I'm using 2.5 inches because of the seam allowance I added. So I'm slanting it by 7 inches here. So I'm going to notch it. I'm going to notch this point so that I don't mix it up. Then on this part, I'm going to slit it a little by half an inch. So this is the pocket. It's on a fold. I'm cutting 2 of it. So the width of the pocket is 6.5 inches. And the length I have here is 14 inches. But I'll be using 12 inches for the length. So I'm cutting 2 of this. And the fly, I've gone ahead to add interfacing to it. I cut it on a fold. So I cut out 2. So I'll be explaining later how to fix it. So this is the top. So I'm adding a band to it on the sleeve. I'm adding a band to it. So I'll also explain that later. Now to fix the pocket, I've gone ahead to add interfacing on it, on this part. You can also use paper stay. So I've ironed this part, that's this 2.5 inches, and on this 7 inches, I folded it. So this is the line, this is the crease line. So what I'll do, I'm going to fix the pocket to it. So this is the pocket. This is the wrong side of the pocket. I'm going to place the trouser on the wrong side of the pocket. Then on this part here, I'm going to come up by half an inch. That's on the pocket. I'll come up by half an inch here. Then I'll make sure these 2 sides are equal. They are aligning here. So what I'll do on this point, that's on this crease line, I'm going to sew very close to it here. So let's go ahead and sew. So this is the 1/2 inch I came up with. So I'm going to place it like so on this line. I'm going to sew very close to the line. So make sure you pin it up so that it doesn't shift. So I stopped the stitch at the 7 inches notch here. So what I'll do, I'm going to notch the pocket also, like so. So look at it. Now I'm going to top stitch on the crease line like this. So I folded it and I'll top stitch on this part here. So I stopped at the 7 inches. This is the top stitch. So I'm going to open it up like this. So this side, I'm going to fold it and sew it on the pocket like this. That's on this side of the pocket, so that it will be one piece. So now I'm going to pick the trouser side, this side, and I'll place it on the pocket like so. So that will have the shape of our pocket. Then now what I'll do, I'm going to measure it. Remember we used 2.5 inches. So I'm going to place it here. So this side we folded, the pocket has made up for it. So I have 2.5 inches here. So on this part that I notched, I'm going to come down a little by 1/2 inch here, like so. I'm notching the 2 pockets. Remember the pocket is on a fold. I'm notching the other side of the pocket so that when I turn it over, I can easily join it. So you understand what I'm doing later. So this is the pocket. This is the pocket. I'll fold it here. Then I'll turn it over. So this is the part I notched. I just notched the 2 notched parts. So I'm going to sew it. So I'm going to sew it here all the way around to the end. And I'll stop at that notched part. So I've gone ahead to pin it up. So this is the notched part. I stopped at the notched part. So when I turn it over, I have something like this. So this is the pocket. So this is the wrong side. So when I put my hand inside, as you can see, we already have the shape of our pocket. So I'm going to fix a dart here. So I'm going to measure it here. So the center point is 5 inches. So the dart is going to be here. So I'm going to sew it on the wrong side. So let's assume this is our dart. So after I sew the dart, I'm going to top stitch this part on the pocket so that it will be one piece. I hope you understand. So I'll do the same thing for the other side of the trouser. So now to fix the zipper fly, this is the fly. So I have gone ahead to join it by 1/2 inch. Then I added interfacing, then I turned it to the good side and I gave it a good press. So I have 2 of it. So I'm using a long zip because I don't have a short zip, but I'm going to cut it out later. So I'm going to measure 7 inches. I have about 8 inches here for the fly. So I'm going to measure 7 inches here. So I'm not going to fix it on this curvy side. I'm fixing it on this straight part. Place the wrong side of the zipper on top of it here, like so. Then I'm going to align it here. Make sure this side is aligning. Then I'm going to sew here and I'll show you when I'm done. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew this part and I made sure it aligned. The left side of the trouser, you can use any of the sides though. So I'm going to measure 7 inches. Then I'll notch it a little. After doing that, I'm going to, on this notch part, I'm going to fold it by 1/4 inch here. And I'll stop at the notched part. Then I'm going to iron it properly. I'll iron it very flat. After ironing it, I'm going to place it on this side that I've sewn on the fly. I'm going to sew it by this side here, very close to the zip, and I'll top stitch on it. So make sure you don't sew on the zip. So I'll do that and I'll show you. So guys, I've gone ahead to join it to the trouser. So I stopped at the 7 inches here. So the next thing I'll be doing, I'll pick the right side of the trouser. Then this is the right side of the fly. So I'm going to sew on this straight part. This straight part, I'm going to sew on top of it here, on top of the trouser by 1/4 inch. So I've gone ahead to join it to the end. So this is what I did. So this is the part I joined. So I'm going to turn it to the wrong side. Then I'm going to top stitch on it again. I'll top stitch and stop at the end. So guys, I've gone ahead to top stitch it. So I'll pick the left side of the trouser like so. Then I'll pick the right side. Then I'll make sure it's on top of the zipper like so. I'll make sure it's closing the zipper here like this. So after doing this, I'll hold it here. Then I'll turn it over to the wrong side. Then I'll pick this fly. I'll pick the fly, the right fly, and I'll sew it to the zipper on the left. So making sure I'm not sewing on the on the left fly. So I'm pinning it up. So if I pin it up, let's assume I've sewn it. This is what I'll have. So I'm going to close it like this. Now the next thing I'll do on the lower part, that is on this crotched side, I'll turn it to the wrong side. Then I'll pick the two parts, that's the two crotch here. I'll make sure they are aligning here like so. Then I'll sew it by 1/2 inch and I'll stop at this 7 inches mark here. So let me just go ahead and pin it up. So when I pin it up, it will look like this, or let's assume I've sewn it, it will be like this. So on this side that is closing the zip here, I'm going to use a fabric chalk to mark it like so and make a curve and stop here. So when I sew it, I'm going to lock this part here. So let me use my fabric chalk to draw it out. So this is the curve. So I'm going to follow it. I'm going to stitch on this curve. So I'll make sure I don't sew on the fly. Make sure the fly is not like this when you're sewing it. So make sure it's flat like so when you sew on top of it. So I'll go ahead and sew on top of it and curve it and lock this part, and I'll show you when I'm done. So guys, I've gone ahead to join it. I also joined this part of the crotch. Then this is the zipper. I've gone ahead to curve it so when I can easily open it and close it back. So this is the wrong side. As you can see, it's perfect. So this is the side I top stitch. Sorry, it's not visible enough, but I made the curve. So the next thing I'll do is to place the back. I'm going to join the back crotch together. So I'm going to join it from this point by 1/2 inch. So I'll sew it here to the end of the curve. So guys, I've gone ahead to join it, the crotch, from this point to the end of the curve. So this is the back. I'm going to measure this point and I'll take the back dart. I'll measure the back dart. After I measure the dart, after I sew the dart, I'll place the front and the back together, making sure the two crotch are together, that are aligning here. So on these two stitched parts, I'm going to join them together here. Then I'll pin it up. After I pin it up, I'm going to sew from this point to the end of the full length. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Remember, we left 1/2 inch for seam allowance, so I'll use it to join it all around and I'll show you when I'm done. So guys, I've fixed the sides. This is the side. This is the other side. This is the crotch part. So I joined it by 1/2 inch. So now I'll be fixing the band. So this is the band. It's on a fold. I added hairstay to it, interfacing. So on a fold, I have 2 inches here. I'll be using half an inch to join in, and I'll be left with 1.5 inches. So the length of the waist circumference is 32. So I added extra 2 inches for joining. So I have 34 inches here. So from the beginning of the band, I'll flip it over to the good side like so. Then I'm going to sew it by 1/4 inch here. So I'll just pin it up and show you what it will look like. So after pinning it up, I'll turn it to the good side. So I'll start fixing it from this part of the fly here on the zipper. I'll sew it by half an inch from here all the way down to the other side of the band. So I did the same thing on the other side of the band, and I'll place it on this point here on the zipper area, and I'll sew it and show you. So guys, I've joined the waistband. There are other methods to join the waistband anyway, but I just chose to do it like this. So on this side, I'm going to use bias tape to turn it. You can use bias tape to turn it all around, or you can weave it also. You can also weave it. So after weaving it all using bias tape, all you do on this part, I'm going to top stitch it here. After using bias tape, I'll do the same thing on the other side. I forgot to mention that I've cut out the excess zip, so I'm going to top stitch this part here. So I'm going to fix this skirt hook to it. I'm going to place it here on the wrong side of the band. Then I'm going to use hand needle. Then the second part will be on the right side of the band like so. So after I fix it, I'm going to hook it like this. So on the full length, on the hemline, I'm going to fold it. I left 2 inches for seam allowance. I'm going to fold it by 1 inch, and I'll refold it by 1 inch. Or you fold it by half an inch, then refold it. It depends on you. So I'll do that and show you. So I've gone ahead to join the hemline, the full length. This is the second part. So we're actually done with the trouser. Now we are done with the trouser. Now to sew the top, I've gone ahead to cut out facing for the top. So I added interfacing to it. So I'm going to place it here and sew it by 1/4 inch. This is the front. And also on the back, I added facing. So I'll do the same thing and sew it. So guys, I'm done. So I'm going to join them together here, making sure the facing here are aligning like so. That's the front facing and the back facing. So I'll join it by half an inch all the way down. So I'm done. So this is the neckline. So this is the sleeve part I joined. So on this other side, I'm going to join it by half an inch here. So when I get to this point, I'll extend it by 1 inch to the end. Same on the other side. So I've joined the side seam. This is the other part. So now on the sleeve, I'll take the sleeve round. So I have about 7.5. So the band on the fold is 2.5 inches. And the sleeve round is 7.5 inches. So I'm going to turn it over like this on the wrong side, and I'll sew it by half an inch. So after sewing it, I'll turn it to the good side like this on a fold here. And I'll place it on the sleeve. I'll tuck it in like so. Then I'll sew it by half an inch. So guys, I've joined the band to the sleeve. I'll be weaving all this side later. This is the second side. I'll weave it later. So on the full length, I fold it into 2 equal halves. So I'll get the center point and I'll curve it. I'll take about 5 inches upward and I'll curve it like this. I want it to have a little curve, so I'll go ahead and shape it out like so. The curve is going to be on the side seam. So when I open it up, it will be like this. The shape will be like this. Now I'll be hemming the full length like this. So I'm done. I've hemmed it all around. We're actually done with our two-piece trouser and top. So this is the outcome. So we've come to the end of these tutorials. I hope it was helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share. Thank you.